Let's move on to a few other notes that we want to talk about. Preseason notes, and we got a positive one. So let's go right to that one. Isaiah Likely, guys, the rookie tight end, 8 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown on 8 targets on Sunday, and looked just incredible doing it, Ryan. All 8 of those catches came in the first half. He played mostly in 2 tight end sets, which if you parlay that towards the regular season, there's a story to be told here for the Ravens where he could potentially get on the field with Mark Andrews and be another pass catching option for Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. I really feel like Likely is moving up rookie rankings and maybe even tight end rankings at this point on this surge of production in the preseason.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm a believer in this one. We do have to be careful in the preseason because some of this production is basically going to be a mirage. It's going to go away once the regular season begins. I don't think that's necessarily the case with Isaiah Likely. I don't know that we're getting 8 for 100 games from him this regular season, but you look at that Ravens depth chart, and it's pretty clear they need some pass catchers, even if it comes in the form of their second tight end. I mean, we've seen them use 2 tight ends heavily over the years, so I don't think that's a problem. Obviously, he's not overtaking Mark Andrews, but as you said, we can see them both on the field, and Likely is definitely gaining some dynasty value.
I'm super excited about his upside. I saw every one of those catches, and he looks faster than I thought he was coming into the NFL draft. It's nice to get those rookies that really shine in the preseason. Another bit of news we heard this week: Michael Thomas, Matt, he's hurt again. Head coach Dennis Allen said Thomas has, quote, a little bit of a hamstring, unquote, injury. Missed much of the last 2 seasons due to injury, missed practice already because of this, and it's just gotta be a wrench in the gut of all Michael Thomas managers right now, because here we go again.
It was really exciting for a couple of weeks where we were getting some videos from Thomas doing some route running and cutting, and maybe not getting back to that record-setting pace from several years ago, but as a productive player in our fantasy lineups. And I'm sure he's going to have games this week. I just don't know how you're going to predict them. We're hoping that we hope with injuries like this, either that they just hold him out of the game and that they're not going to play him unless he's fully healthy. But I'm just not sure that that's going to be the case with this team. And then, you have 2 weapons out at receiver as well there, where it's going to be kind of like fantasy whack-a-mole. It seems like every week with these guys, especially with Thomas and Landry. So this is a tough one. I wasn't really into Michael Thomas anyway. I was excited about seeing him back on the field, but hopefully this isn't too long. But I think counting on him as a weekly fantasy option is probably not the right way to go with Thomas this year.
For me, the concerning thing here is just the way they being the Saints and the coaching staff is approaching this, because it's a little like the boy who cried wolf, because the past couple of years it's been terminology and phrasing like a minor injury, or this time it's a little bit, and basically stringing us along that we're going to see this guy. He's close to returning, and he's missed almost the entirety of the past 2 seasons with what, at least at one point, was called a minor or a nagging injury. And here we are again. Maybe this one is a minor injury, or it's just a little bit of a hamstring, but I'm not really believing it. I'm worried, and I just want more and more Chris Olave on my rosters.
Speaking of worried, guys, I am very worried about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line. It is shattered right now. Of course, Alex Kappa left in free agency over the offseason. Then Ali Marpet retired, one of the best offensive linemen they've had in years. Center Ryan Jensen is out for the year with a knee injury that he suffered earlier in camp. And now this week they lost left guard Aaron Stinney, who tore his ACL and MCL. He's out for the year as well. I know the Bucs traded for Shaq Mason from the Patriots, but overall, this offensive line is a far cry from what they were a couple of years ago when Tampa Bay went on that huge run, won a Super Bowl, and then last year again came back. All that production from Fournette. Brady was a monster once again, and those receivers came through in spades for dynasty managers. I think it's overblown how Tom Brady doesn't like pressure in his face. Every quarterback doesn't like pressure in his face, Matt. But this is not good for Tampa Bay. If you're investing in that offense, all of these veterans, Leonard Fournette, even Brady, there's at least reason to throw up a red flag.
Yeah, I've gone on a bit of a roller coaster with this offense this week, and I was super excited with Mike Evans early on in the process when we weren't sure if Chris Godwin was going to be available early on, just seeing a massive target volume for Mike Evans. And we've gone on to this weird section where this the stuff with the tampering with Miami is weird with Brady. This movie or Netflix special or whatever he's away from the team to film this thing. We have the story from the weekend from USC when Gronk is part of USC now, talking about how they almost went to Las Vegas. I just get bad vibes from this offense right now. I think probably in the end it's going to be Brady and it's going to be fine, but I definitely don't feel good about it. I traded Leonard Fournette away last week because like you said, the offensive line is starting to feel not so great. So I'm down on this entire offense right now, except at least for 2022. I still would like to get Godwin at his price, but other than that, I'm kind of fading this offense right now for the reasons you mentioned and all this other weirdness around the team.
When Dan, you compared, you made a little comparison there to a dynasty league, and in a dynasty league, when you really decide to go all in with veterans to try to win a title, everything has to go your way. And sometimes that works, and it worked a couple of years ago, but now look at this team, the oldest quarterback, one of the oldest quarterbacks in history of the league, as great as Brady has been, obviously the end is nearing, and we thought it was even here at one point this offseason. An older running back, an older wide receiver, as good as he is, and Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, 26, coming off the injury. Gronk's already gone. You talked about the O-line issues. Like this is a team that it worked a couple of years ago, but they might have just tried to run it out a little too long here.
Guys, we got a new segment that we're going to start every week, looking at one guy to stash outside of the top 200. It's sponsored by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy football platform on the internet. This week, we're going to spotlight Jerome Ford, the Cleveland Browns running back. He's at number 255 overall in our rankings. Running back 77, fellas. And he's really had a nice camp. There's been some positive reports out of Cleveland. Of course, in week 1 against Jacksonville, week 1 of the preseason, I should say, 10 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown, mostly against backups, even third and fourth string guys there. 4 catches for 45 yards and a score against the Jags in that ball game. And then this past week against the Eagles, just 9 for 31 on the ground. But once again, 4 catches, 26 yards through the air. And like I mentioned before, getting glowing reports. In fact, Mary Kay Cabot, one of the most decorated beat reporters for the Browns, said he's lighting up camp, especially as a receiver out of the backfield. Jerome Ford originally went to Alabama, but that backfield was so stacked that he moved on to Cincinnati. We saw him in the Final Four, I guess, last year in the NCAA playoffs, and he ran a 4.46 40 at the combine. He was a good pass catcher in college as well, and projects as a guy who could help out a team in need at that spot. Now, with Kareem Hunt there, with Dearness Johnson there, it appears from the outside that he's probably the 4th running back on that depth chart. But all those trade rumors surrounding Kareem Hunt are all there. Dearness Johnson, even if he is ahead of him on the depth chart, he's in the final year of his contract as well. So I think if we're looking for a sleeper stash of the week, a guy that's way down there, Jerome Ford certainly belongs in that category, a guy that should be drafted if you're having a late rookie draft, and especially if it goes through 4 rounds. Jerome Ford is a guy to consider for the back end of your roster. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a Kareem Hunt trade still. I wouldn't be shocked if Ford just straight up beats out Dearness Johnson and we see him get a few carries here and there early in the season.